All right, you guys. Hi, we'll go ahead and get started. I am Danielle, the WellFit Program Manager here. Ooh, I'm seeing some good familiar faces. Thank you for coming out today, you guys, for the Spotlight On event for the Blue Zone. Today we're gonna hear a lot more about, what it is and some other fabulous things. So if you're sitting there thinking, I have no idea what I signed up for here today, you're in for a good treat, a lot of good information about Blue Zones and what we're gonna do with that. So I would like to introduce today two people that will be speaking, and then after we're done, there are some handouts on this side table that is just basically, how did you like it, and do you want more information? Because we're scratching the surface here of who's interested and what direction we want to go, and what more information, do we need to formulate some more classes. So if you'd like to put your email address on there, we're gonna start our own Blue Zone clan, tribe, group, team, so to speak, of who wants to participate in more events, more classes, more ideas for Blue Zone. So definitely give us your email if you're interested, and some feedback about the class. Throughout the presentation, we'll also have some handouts for you, so you'll get some of that. But I am very pleased to announce two people before I call them up here. One of them is Nina Baldi, and this was her SMART goal. Woo! This was her SMART goal for the year, so fun to see it in action, see it formulating, see it start happening this year. And Nina teaches a lot of classes here for us: Pilates Reformer, water aerobics, yoga classes, yoga nidra, some wellness retreats. What am I forgetting? Sound baths, that's a good one. Meditation, yes. Nina will also be available for a little bit after with more questions. And then our other guest speaker today is Rex Owens. This is Rex over here. And fitness supervisor. So his office is over at Calaga in the gym if you want to, pick his brain. But Rex is also would help you get paired up with personal training, clinical training, small group training classes. So definitely go to him with more questions afterwards if you need to. And Rex Owens. All right, you guys. Well, I'm gonna let Nina take it away first. And here we go. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Good. Okay. I'm gonna start first with just having everyone sit up nice and tall.
Do you have the lights?
I know, I can't help myself, sorry. Just part of who I am. I want you to see if you can take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Yeah. Stop. Exhale slowly through the mouth. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Who feels just a tiny bit more relaxed?
It's okay.
Okay. So I did set creating a Blue Zone here in Sun City. I think after watching, if you are not familiar with what a Blue Zone is, it is literally a blue marker
She's my 8.
circling a zone of people who live to be centenarians, 100 years old, and they're not doing it in a wheelchair. They're not doing it with walkers. They are doing it while still gardening, while still riding horses, while still doing their daily chores. Okay, so they're living a healthy lifestyle. How does that happen? If you turn around and you look behind me up here on the map of the world, they've identified 5 different regions. Now, I ended up going home today in between teaching and listening to a podcast of the gentleman who started this whole program. His name is Dan Buettner, and he works for National Geographic, and he traveled throughout the world doing research on what makes these areas so special. Okay, and they came up with, if you look, Italy, Loma Linda, California, Costa Rica, Greece, and Japan. Specific small villages within all these regions. Okay? Think Italy, Japan. What do they have in common? Not a whole lot, right? As far as food goes, as far as culture goes. But there are certain things that these scientists have gone back and looked at, and it's the foods that they eat. There's 5 pillars, and it's beans, greens, grains. Hold on. Already forgetting. Made way too many notes today. So beans, grains, your tubulars, which are your root plants, your ginger, your beets, sweet potatoes, and I'm forgetting the last one, so if you can bear with me here, I apologize. Nuts. Of course, right? So, these are the common 5 foods, or the 5 areas of the food groups that they find within all 5 regions that people eat on a regular basis. They don't, this does not mean when I'm talking greens having tons and tons of salads. They mix everything together. They mix their grains, their beans, their greens, and they eat until they're 80% full. They spend time eating. They eat in a community. They support one another. Okay, so it's kind of nobody gets left behind. What was the reason you all moved to a 55+ community? To have support, to feel part of the community, to have everything easily at your fingertips. We have a beautiful complex here. We've got walking trails, we have golf courses, you have activities from here to New York and back to participate in. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse on why we're not utilizing every bit of potential that this community has to offer. Now there's a lot of gardening clubs, or not a lot of gardening clubs, but there's a lot of different clubs. There's gardening, there's communities that get together and play cards, there's sewing groups. So there's, what this is talking about is finding your place here, finding your group, finding people who help support what you believe in. Faith is a huge portion of what makes a Blue Zone successful. Does that mean you have to be religious? No. Your faith may be meditating. Your faith may be waking up every day with a purpose. Why are you here? What is your purpose for today? They find that those who wake up with a purpose, whether it's just a simple workout, whether it's getting something done, getting your housework done, gardening, what is your purpose every morning? Do you ever think about that? Do you ever wake up in the morning and go, what am I going to do today? The world is your oyster. Most of you are retired. You can create whatever you want. So what is it you want? Part of being part of a Blue Zone is connecting. Connecting. So how are you going to connect? Are you going to connect through an exercise program? Maybe it's a bridge group. Maybe it's a sewing class. So it's connecting. It's creating different areas, and they have 9 different areas here. So, let's see. Okay, there we go. We've got Rex. We've got the Blue Zone spotlight there. Oh, look, I'm going to pop up here on this little pedestal. Okay, so where is my passion? That's a little bit about who I am and what I do. I am a survivor of an AVM. It's an abnormal vein malformation. It's the equivalent of having a stroke at the age of 9. Okay? I lost all my reading, my writing, and my ability to see peripheral. I self-healed, not because I chose to, but because of the ignorance of our medical system, and they didn't quite know what to do with me other than keep testing me. So my passion has grown for self-healing and natural ways to heal the body ever since I was a little child. I have a whole different philosophy. If you've taken any of my classes, I'm a little bit different, and I just come from a different place, but it's from my heart. So I'm very passionate about this. I think that we have full capability to make this happen within this community. And so how do we make that happen? Where do we go? Well, one is move. Do you have to do an exercise class? No. That might be walking on the trails. That might be going out for golf. That might be working in the garden. None of the people in those 5 regions belong to a gym. Okay? Now, I'm an instructor. So I want you to come to the gym. However, it is not a requirement. The 80% of I'm full when eating. Okay? We talked a little bit about the 5 staples, and we did not mention any meat. Okay? They use meat maybe 5 times throughout the month. Okay, so meat is not a huge, and it doesn't have anything to do with a particular diet. It has more to do with these areas or poorer areas. It's a peasant menu. It's what is local, available, and cheap. And it's blended together to create wonderful dishes, and they use their herbs as medicinal. Okay, so the way that you flavor your stuff, the way that you prepare your stuff is important. We've gotten lazy. So Okinawa, Japan is a region that started as one of the very first blue zones. They've actually lost their certification recently due to Western influence. Yay! We pre-package fast food. It's come in. Their younger generation is no longer gardening. They're no longer kneading their own dough. Why knead your own dough if you can go down to the store and buy it, right? Why plant your vegetables if you can just go down to the store and purchase them? So they're consuming a lot more meat now. They're consuming a lot more processed food. And they've lost their credibility as far as being a blue zone. They've become one of the more unhealthy areas today. Getting back to, it is a plant-based diet. Most of it is 80% plant-based. It does not mean you're going completely vegan or vegetarian, okay? Wine at 5. We like that, right? Okay, so why wine at 5? And does it have to be wine? This was a great question today on the podcast. It doesn't. Guess what they said you could have? Whiskey. I'm like, whiskey? A Guinness. That's my drink of choice. So, why can't we create wine at 5? Up here, watch the sunset. Be a community. And this isn't a drink-a-thon. It's one glass. We sip on, we have nice conversation, and we see how we can support each other. So I've personally spoken with Jim, who runs our food and beverage area, and he wants to get on board with this. He wants to make changes. Okay? So the more we can create these small groups in all these different areas, the faster we can achieve becoming a blue zone. Going down into purpose. Everybody needs a purpose in life. And that's how I said, what are you going to do today when you wake up? What's your purpose for today? Downshift. We are taught run, more. What happened when you stopped for just a few minutes to take 3 breaths? 3 breaths. And the whole body just sort of downshifted just a tiny bit, right? So what would happen if throughout your day you just took 5 minutes to breathe? Extra deep, extra long, and with purpose. Belonging. How many of us have felt from one time or another in your life you just didn't belong? That's sad. And it's unnecessary because everybody moved here into this community to belong, to be supported. So we need to create that again. We need to make sure that if we have a neighbor that's in the house and they're all by themselves, that we try to pull them out, that we maybe bring them to wine at 5. Loved ones, family, and the right tribe. Okay, so a lot of these are generational families in these blue zones. The children, the parents, the grandchildren, the grandparents, and sometimes the great-grandparents are all staying underneath one roof. We're not shuffling the parents off into retirement centers. Okay? We're taking care of them. And that knowledge that they contain is being passed down through generation to generation. So how can we bring that tribal feeling, that family feeling? Because do we have to be related to feel like family? No. So we can create our own Sun City family. We can love and support each other. The right tribe. Have you ever been with somebody who's an energy sucker? Seriously, you go out with them and you're like, oh, I love that person, but I just want to slam my head against the wall after a while. I'm like, I'm exhausted. Right? Think about who you surround yourself with. Okay? This came up in the podcast I was listening to. And one lady just had the hardest time being around one of her girlfriends who was obese, and it kept bringing her down. And she said, I don't want to make a decision to not be your friend just because she's overweight. But she was constantly being brought down. So she finally pulled away for a little while. And the girlfriend's like, She went a little bit more over her way. Now they're holding hands and they're living a nice little healthy lifestyle. Her friend has decided she's going to come back over here because she wants to live a better life. She wants to live a healthier life. So how can you motivate others? How can you motivate others and take them along? How can we make this happen? I'm going to turn this over to Rex, who is going to, he's like, whoa, hold on. I'm going to turn this over to Rex so that he can go through some of the stuff that we proceed forward with.
Testing. Hi everyone, thanks for allowing us up here. I'm going to do a quick bio and then I'll move on. I made the PowerPoint, so I like doing the PowerPoints better than I like talking. So anyways, I've been in the industry for a long time and I've done a variety of things, but I think the reason that we're here is we all want to live not just longer, but you want to live a quality life for that last 5 or 10 years, right? That's really what we're after. I can't say when somebody's going to live or die, but... Oh, sorry. Yeah. I am Greek, yes. Yeah, so if you see me and it looks intense, it's not. It's just... Anyways, yeah, thanks for the reminder on this. So, my whole point was that we want to live longer, but there's never any guarantee of that. But what you can do is not have the typical 5 or 10 years of your life where you're miserable at the end. And that's what this is about. Us bringing like blue zone things here and trying to make this a blue zone where people are living longer and healthier. Yeah, sorry. Usually I speak in smaller rooms and my voice is pretty loud, so it'll carry. So anyways, my lecture is going to be a little more technical. Can everyone see really well, or I'm going to read some of it, okay? Just in case you can't actually see or read well. So the aging process is the later portion of the life cycle. You're born, you're starting to grow up, you mature, and then you go into the aging process, right? Where things aren't really like, you're not, like say after 30, when you hit 40, you don't think you're still going up, you're trying to maintain. So the aging process is the later portion, but it's characterized by a lot of things. It could be a continuum from being super fit to basically, somebody that has acquired frailty and disease. And then frailty is commonly characterized by a loss of muscle mass. That's sarcopenia. If you lose, muscle mass, you're not strong enough to stand on one leg, you're worried about your balance, maybe that's one of the first things that you want to do, because if you can't stand on one leg, you can't be on it very, very long, so you have to put the other one down, shorten your steps. It's a cascade of things. So it's not just muscle mass leads to loss of losing muscle mass leads to sarcopenia. It leads to weakness, slowness, fatigue, things like that. You're not as vibrant. When stuff starts getting harder, because I've noticed, like, my wife says, get the bag of dog food out of the back, would you please? Sure. I grab it. It's like, oh, it's heavier than it used to be. No, it's not. I'm not the same person anymore. I actually, worry about, like, if it's deep in there, I don't just pick it up. I bring it to me and lift it. Before, I'd have just snatched it, right? So things have changed, but the world's not changing. I notice it's me. So we want to not have those diseases. So the trajectory for an individual is based on their lifestyle behaviors. So that includes lifestyle behaviors, your physical activity. Throw on some music and dance in the living room. We're not saying you got to go to the gym. I mean, my experience with exercise is basically like football and then Army, infantry, and airborne and all that stuff. I didn't like, none of that was fun. None of it, right? But it also gave me an understanding of physical stuff, and there's a lot of things that you can do that are joyful. Like we have Zumba classes and things like that. A lot of men won't take those classes. Trust me, if I have an opportunity, I'll get right in there. I don't care, you can laugh. I know how to dance, but so I don't feel that bad about it, but I'll get right up front because I know it entertains everyone else. I've done it a number of times, The ladies are like, hey, who is that up there? So we're all 99.9 the same, and that just means that, behaviors lead to outcomes, right? So, and we know not everyone loves the exercise. I mean, it was an acquired taste for me, because I always thought it was like you beat yourself into the ground, and that's the way it needs to be. But then sometimes no one's looking, I throw the music on loud and dance around the living room or something, and you can make things fun. What is it that you like? What are you passionate about? So I want to cover genetics a little bit because sometimes we use that for an excuse. So genetics also influences health and longevity, okay? And it can be equivocal because everyone's an individual. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but roughly for most of us, it's 20 to 25% of the variability in health. So 75 to 80% of what happens to you is the choices that you make. Now, one caveat on that. This is the first job I've ever had because I'm a fitness guy, right? A fitness director typically. I'm always on the exercise floor. I'm always lifting, picking up weights, moving here, hustling, doing that. I don't do that here. I do a lot of sitting because there's a lot more admin work to do here, and it's important work. But I noticed that, that's why people get bad backs. Because gym people don't get bad backs, they get bad shoulders. You know what I mean? But if you've been sitting at an office and typing for 30 or 40 years, if I take this position that I'm in and I sit, okay, this is 40% more compression on my spine. This is 90% more compression on my spine, which means, if I'm always typing and I'm leaning forward and you're like, I don't know why my back always hurts, that's why. So what I do, like on a payroll day like Monday where I have to spend 6 hours doing that, every 30 minutes something goes off and I have to get up and do an activity. That may not be what you need to do, but there's always small little incremental things that you could do, get up, do something and move and feel better. So, to put it another way, lifestyle is 3 to 4 times more important than genetics, okay, when considering your health. So we got to take that excuse away. That being said, you know, if you had a job where all you did was have to sit and really focus, we realize you might have some injuries, or like I ended up with the first sickness of my life here, you know what I mean? Had to have surgery and all of that. It was kind of like surprising. You know what it taught me? I thought to myself, what if I was like 70 or 75, not 60, and I had that? You know, if you have months off of like movement and exercise, that's very hard on a person. And I realized that, you know, the older you are, the harder that's going to be. So getting some movement in is very important. It's almost like putting money in the bank. So I'm going to go over epigenetics really quickly. And all this means is that you have your genes in there, but that's not all that's in there in your genes, right? The DNA. There's a lot more other stuff. It's the epigenetics, the stuff above epi. But what it does is it can turn things on and turn things off. So I'm going to give you an example. So a person has a family history of diabetes and cardiovascular disease, so that they are more likely to genetically predisposed to developing these two conditions. However, having these bad genes does not mean that the genes will actually express themselves, okay? Their lifestyle has turned off these bad genes if they're eating well. You know, if you say, so mom and dad both had heart disease, okay? And so mom and dad both have heart disease, and you say, well, I'll probably get it. Well, probably not, because you're, you know, taking your olive oil and eating and getting some movement in and healthy, and you have a little glass of red wine once in a while, and you do all those things. You don't have to have it. You know what I mean? It's lifestyle, and it can't be changed, and it can change now. One of the best things, I work in fitness, so my oldest client personally is 94, and he had a quote, I think it's the best fitness quote I'd ever heard. I heard these guys, John, they would buy him, and he was sitting, and I heard these two guys talking to him, and they say, you know, we've been in the gym all our lives, because there are literally guys here, we have fun, that's people that have probably been going to the gym longer than I've been alive. You know what I mean? And they're like, we've been going to the gym all our lives and all that. And he just looked at him, he's 94, he goes, you know, I didn't start till I was 90. Wow, that's pretty amazing, you know? And then I remember getting him on the treadmill. First of all, I had to help him on the treadmill. Get him on the treadmill, and so he made about a minute at the slowest rate, a minute. Now he just gets in and does 30 minutes. Yesterday I was buried in payroll and couldn't get out to train, which happens once in a while. He got his 30 minutes of cardio in. And it wasn't tedious for him, we just built him up slow. So I just wanted to show you what 5 pounds of fat versus 5 pounds of muscle looks like. 5 pounds of fat's about the size of your Sunday newspaper. You know, and I put that up there just so you realize, like, what your weight isn't the same thing. Like, if you, like, whatever your weight is, if you started to do some strength training, right, and you had some slightly denser muscles, you might find you've lost body fat, but you ended up weighing more. So that, I know that could be daunting for people. But I just wanted to illustrate what it looks like. So if you took a cross section and cut my legs off this way, God forbid, and then looked on top of it, that's what a thigh looks like, okay? So I cut the person across here and I'm looking down on their thighs, okay? The top, 40-year-old triathlete, that's a lot of muscle mass up here. 74-year-old sedentary person, that's a lot of fat around those thighs. And then 70-year-old triathlete, look at that. They look like the 40-year-old. So in no way can you not gain your muscle back. Okay? Are you going to have the same amount of muscle? Probably not. I mean, obviously, you know, we're not going to turn into 30-year-olds, but if you've gone your whole life and never done any kind of training or whatever, we find a way of making it challenging for you, but something that's satisfying, not like you leave the gym like you feel like you're all beat up. But it doesn't have to be the gym. You can just do activities at home, and I'll go into that. So, the gym person that goes to the gym for an hour and lifts weights versus somebody that's just active around the house, I can tell you the active around the house is probably healthier. I see a lot of guys, especially like where I've worked before, CalFit, I see guys older than me come in and they still got, you know, they're big and they can bench press 350 pounds, and then I'll see them drop their wallet one time and he couldn't get it. I'm like, yeah, maybe you've traded off a little too much. So it's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, all the things that you do. There's even a movement right now by one of the leading people in our industry that basically just says, hey, every time you get in a chair, you sit down, get up, sit back down. Every time you get up, sit back down, get back up. So you just do it twice. Now, and then he showed over a lifetime, over 30 years, how many more squats that is, and you're like, oh, that's pretty significant. And the fact is that one of the biggest things that we lose in the United States, nowhere else, my mother's Greek, I've seen the toilet that, that they had to use when the Nazis invaded and all that, and boy, I guess it's called a Turkish toilet. They can squat well, just like anyone from, a lot of different countries. You gotta get there. So, needs essentially all the calories that the person burns through their daily activity. And you just try to figure out little ways of, I've even seen studies where two people are basically like the same size and weight, but one person's a fidgeter, and if you look at their composition, one of them's just a little bit leaner, even though it looks like they're about the same girth and all of those things. You know what I mean? So being a spontaneous mover, but you can figure out little things to do. Nina mentioned cooking, like, my wife was eating pistachios last night in bed. She was watching a show, so she was sitting on top of the bed, but I noticed she was shelling them, right? Now, there's a difference, because sometimes she buys the barbecue ones, or the salt and vinegar ones, and they're good, right? And they're already shelled, and guess what happens with those? I have to get like a little dish like this and put them in. Otherwise, pretty soon you're like, did we just eat the whole bag? But to shell the pistachios still takes energy. So it fills in the cracks of your daily energy expenditure. We don't always have to be at the gym. This is probably the best community I've ever seen, walking your dog. You guys are amazing. I see a few people without a bag though. So I was driving here the other day. I was like, did they just know they didn't with no bag? So I just wanted to go over what your basal metabolic rate is. It sounds technical, it's not. If you laid in bed, the green is you. If you laid in bed all day, that's just to keep your cells on. Basically, it's 10 calories per day, per cell, or per pound. So you need 10 calories per pound. That's not a lot of calories, or at least it seems like it, but it's still the majority of your day. Physical activity, all the things that you do here, and then thermogenesis is that when you eat food, it costs energy. You don't just pump it across that layer and absorb it at no cost. It costs you some energy. So the easiest thing to do is increase our physical activity, and our physical activity is easy to increase. It's harder to increase your basal metabolic rate, but there are some people that probably have amazing metabolic rates that have a lot of muscle, like Gina. Say hi, Gina. Gina's one of our trainers. Gina is strong. I wouldn't try to deadlift against her. She's got a lot of muscle mass, so she probably doesn't have to diet as hard to take a pound off if she's got all that muscle mass. So it's something to think about. So research shows that there can be as much as a 2,000 calorie difference in need between people of the same size. So you and your girlfriend are 100, I won't say 140 because my wife always says that's a lot, but I'm like, that's like me in 7th grade. So if you have a friend that's like the same size and all that kind of stuff, and you just notice that they just don't burn as many calories overall, their composition, you might have like little tighter muscles, and they don't have that, and it's because they just don't move as much. And I've seen it in office work, especially where somebody goes, oh, are you going to make a copy here? Make this copy for me. Whereas, fitness people tend to be like, oh, you gotta make a copy? Oh, let me run and do it real quick and come back, especially that one right there. It's really dynamic. It's super. So, find ways that you can expend more energy. So here's a quick study. And they found that women that do strength exercises 2 to 3 days a week, so if you look at the bottom, what surprised us the most was the fact that the women who do muscle strengthening had a reduction in their cardiovascular mortality by 30%. They didn't say they were doing cardio, they're doing strength. Here's the thing, most of you, I could give any of us, the trainers could give you a great program in 15 minutes. Strength training doesn't take that long. You know, one day you do some upper, the next day you do lower, whatever, how you know, maybe you're going 3 days a week. If it's only 2, then you're walking the dog on the other days. That'll help you not only get there, it's easier to do a little bit more, get there, and then maintain. But what we're trying to show you is that it wouldn't be that hard in this community to make us a blue zone. So how can I get started? If you have been inactive, start slowly. If walking to the mailbox is hard, then walk it in the morning and walk it at night. You know, just do it twice instead of once. That's how you build things in fitness. Keep adding more exercise gradually. Oh, you stood up, you're kind of a little wobbly, okay, well hold on to the wall and march 10 times, you know what I mean? Do that every time you get up. You just build it into your day. Or if you like going to the gym or find a sport, like pickleball has, how many people in the pickleball club? 800, 900 people, something like that? There's a lot of people. The more you can do, the better. You know what I mean? If you decide that you're gonna rake the leaves or do whatever, do those things. Try not to feel overwhelmed. Try, like if you're gonna really, like some of you will go home and try this, tomorrow morning before you leave here, what is it that you're gonna do? Hey, maybe it's when I get out of that chair, I'm gonna stand up, sit down, and get back up. Oh good, start with that one. And you're gonna add something in your diet, because everyone hates something being taken out of their diet, right? So what are you gonna add in that's healthy? Use a little more olive oil or whatever. And I had to do a talk a while ago, and when I looked at all the cancer studies, which was why I was sick, I was like, oh my goodness, look at the studies, independent studies all over on cancer and extra virgin olive oil. Amazing. If you email me, I'm the fitness supervisor. In the back of Compass is my email. If you email me, I'll send you my PowerPoint slides, or I'll send you a bunch of stuff if you want. There are many different ways to get exercise. It is important to find the types that are best for you. I find people love to dance, things like that. I catch my wife in the living room doing the same thing. We just dance to different music. She's got Chicago on, you know what I mean, which I love too. And then you can also try to add activity to your life in smaller ways. Some of the honeydews that you're asked to do. Also, a well-fit trainer can suggest appropriate classes. We get people in and they're like, I'm not sure which class, maybe they're on a walker, and we're like, hey, there's chair classes, we've got Parkinson's classes, we've got balance. We help you figure out, you know, hey, this is how you could get started. And frankly, you know, in the past, especially men were like, well, I'll lift on my own or all that kind of stuff. Doing stuff in a group is so much. You even go to chemo in a group today. You learn to swim in a group. You went to basic training in a group, right? You went to scouts in a group or whatever. You went to high school in a group. It was during COVID. Like my last one was home for that. All he did was get up and like turn the computer on. All right, how do I get more active around the house? We're almost at the end. Housework, gardening, just little things that you can do that you can add, you know? Keep moving while you watch TV. Lift weights, you know, whatever it is. Throw some kind of dance video on, some kind of yoga video or something that you can do. Take a walk. Stand up when talking on the phone. I use that a lot, especially when people tend to judge. Get to the point a lot quicker when I'm standing than when I'm sitting. Somehow I find a way. And then get some exercise equipment from home. You know, if you did 10 minutes of strength exercise every day, you'd have that component done, then you'd need like more movement overall. So, it's never too early or too late to work towards being the healthiest you. The things that I kind of put them in order, and my colleagues are welcome to like disagree with me, because you know we all love exercise, nutrition. We love the subject, but how much we emphasize different things may be different. But for me, I find I don't care if you sleep good, do nutrition, and do movement well. If you don't have enough water, you got to start with that, right? Because if I stopped you exercising for 2 days, you'd be good. But if I didn't give you water for 2 days, you'd be desperate for that water. Sleep's very important, okay? Everyone's like, you know, in this country, because we love that work ethic, oh, you know, I only get 6 hours. You know, the World Health Organization will tell you that those people die early. Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, they were famously like, we don't need but 5 hours of sleep. Okay. And you know, when you sleep, you clear those amyloids, the plaques, all those kinds of things. Then nutrition. And you know, if you stop thinking of nutrition as like, I gotta cut this out and do these things, just think about what you're gonna add in, that you start adding in. Like, I tend to eat more often, so then when I have something where you're like I eat so often, to tell you honestly, like I quit eating dinner anymore. Because I get home and I'm not hungry. The last time I ate was like, what, 6 minutes ago? I have this bar, it's mainly seeds. So, and that may not work for you. The leanest person that I ever tested was at Intel when I worked over there, and this guy ate once a day, and man, he was like lean, but I thought, let there be like a couple days without services where you can't go get some food, and I bet he would be in trouble. And then lastly, movement. That's your pick. What is it that's important to you? And do that. If you're walking the dog, then continue to do that. Maybe walk the dog a little faster or a little longer or more often, whatever it is. That's all I have. My section was kind of the movement section, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the blue zone. But if you guys have any question about movement or what you should be doing, feel free. It's free to come talk to me or Danielle or any of the other trainers. Actually, I probably have to pay them to come see me. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Rex. Okay, so how can we get this started? There's been a lot of people that have come up to me who are very excited about the possibility of Sun City becoming a blue zone. And it's a lot more than just our movement, right? So, can you think about your home and your kitchen? We're going to start doing some classes that will reorganize your kitchen. Okay? How can you reorganize your kitchen? How can you clean up that kitchen and make it more blue zone friendly? How can you reorganize your outdoor space and utilize your outdoor space to create your own sanctuary and possibly grow your own food? How can we collectively become a stronger, kinder community? Okay, so there's a lot of different areas that we're going to start creating groups so that we can go through the 9 different sections. Can you pop that
Fast
up?
forward 9.
I should have that. That's my fault. Oh, there I am. There we go. Okay, so movement. Your choice. Rex just went over a lot of that. When you eating till you're 80% full, taking your time to eat, enjoying your food. They find that the longer you take, the better your digestion. I'm a big proponent. I study Ayurvedic medicine. So if your digestive system, which is where all root of all disease begins, is at a dis-ease, it allows for disease. Okay? So if your digestive system is not on track, that's your first thing you're going to want to fix. Okay? And that can be done a number of ways. You can talk to me about that possibly afterwards. And we have a lot of dis-ease going on in the gut system. Your gut, they talk a lot about the microbiome of the gut and the healthy bacteria that grow within this gut. And part of the diet pulls from creating a healthier gut. Okay, so if this is healthy here, you're much healthier here, and you're certainly healthier here in your heart. If you don't feel like you belong anywhere, we've got a huge community, a lot of vast opportunity here. So I would find somewhere that feels good, maybe even explore things that you don't think might feel good, and you might surprise yourself. Try something new. Anytime we try something new, it's great for our brains. We're learning something new. okay? The, that all goes along with the right tribe, loved ones, belonging, downshift, and having purpose. How can you just bring it down, or if it's all the way down, how can you rev it up? Okay, so kind of taking a self-evaluation on where you are anxiety-wise, emotionally, physically, and figuring out what your purpose is. Wine at 5, going plant-based. 80% is another way to start thinking, and we're going to try to figure out how we can create a beautiful wine at 5, possibly watching sunsets, possibly bringing in some evening or morning meditations to help people learn to meditate. So meditation, a lot of people are like, that means I have to sit there and be still. No. You can do walking meditations. You can do chanting meditations. You can do movement meditations, okay? So meditation comes in many different forms. And if you've not ever looked up the benefits of meditation, the list is long. The benefits are huge. And I'm going to end it here. I'm going to invite Danielle back up. She is going to go over a few other classes that we already have coming on that might be able to help you find different ways to release, let go, and become more open.
Hey, you keep that mic. You never know when I'm going to chime in. But to wrap it up, I do have a handout with all of this I'm about to talk about. And then there is another handout from Nina, and you might want to talk about that as well. Or do you just want them to grab one, that handout? But there are 2 handouts for you. So don't leave before you pick up the 2 handouts. But I want to talk about things that you could do through WellFit. So yes, there's a lot you can do at home. I agree. You should see my videos. I dance in the kitchen with my kids. Very energetic, burn a lot of calories. But if you want some direction or help through the WellFit department and through the gym, we are here for you. My whole job is about diversifying our wellness classes. So if you have an idea for a new class, I think this workshop is going to produce a lot more wellness class ideas. We'll create them. I talked to a gentleman today about fishing and fly fishing, and he wants to teach that to some of the kids and grandkids, and it can be active and fly fishing, so you name it. There's a lot of different wellness classes that we can produce. So this handout has mindfulness options and opportunities, like your sound bath. Nina does a sound bath with Renee. That it's all listed here. The mindful movement classes that we would really have you focus on, right out of the gate would be maybe a Tai Chi class. Because they're very level 1. You don't have to get up and down on the floor if you don't want to. So it's just a great way to kind of start with some of the mindfulness connection between mind, body, and spirit. Of course, there's some Pilates reformer classes that really connects mind and body on the Pilates reformer. Yin yoga, Monday nights, if you haven't already joined Nina, is yin yoga. I wouldn't do it justice, but I know you do a lot of restorative positions that are trying to help heal your body, and then even go into maybe a little guided meditation, so you get a combination there. There's Wine and Gong on Wednesdays, and that's with the Jones, so check that one out. That's just a drop-in class. And then of course we talked about chair yoga. There's chair Zumba. I mean, we really have gotten creative with a lot of different movement styles of exercises that, you don't have to do anything too strenuous. The drumming class, that's pretty fun. Another good place to start that is free is our WellFit orientation. Twice a month at each location, we offer that free WellFit orientation. Even if you've done it a long time ago and you want to do it again, sign up, do it. We'll show you some of the machines. We'll answer questions about how our gym works, the classes. So that's a great place to start. We talked about personal or clinical training. You would talk to Rex about that if you want a little bit more of that one-on-one guidance or help. Within that, there's nutrition coaching. We have 2 nutrition coaches right now that could meet with you one-on-one, virtually or in person, whatever you prefer. The walk and talk. Has anybody done the walk and talk with us? Yeah! So we started that with Marsha. Marsha gave me the idea. We were chatting one day, and we needed just more free things where we can talk and communicate to each other and build that sense of community. And it's also great to incorporate walking. So we meet at the track one Wednesday a month. We always advertise it. The last Wednesday of every month at 3:30, we walk the track up at Orchard Creek for about a half an hour, any pace. Everybody's different paces. And then right after that, people that want to carry on good conversation, we don't parade. We walk over to Meridian's and we grab a drink or whatever, a water, and we sit out sometimes when it's nice, and I brought my little fire pit and we roast marshmallows and sing Kumbaya. No, I'm kidding, we didn't do that. But we did sit out there and do our wine at 5 or whatever. No, it was at 4. Yeah, it was at 4. And people stayed another hour, had dinner together, had drinks together, met people they didn't know. It was really, it warmed my heart. It was fun. I'm glad to be part of it. So the walk and talk's a great way to get involved, nice and free, once a month. And then you could meet somebody, from a different area and join in with that club or that group that they are part of. Some of our nutrition classes have been going fabulously. So on the very backside, you'll see some of the upcoming classes just straight out of the Compass. The Thriving with Grace is just about movement. What a perfect topic for that class. And then our next spotlight on, this is a spotlight on, but our next spotlight on is about the restorative movement on the Pilates Reformer. So it's another free 1-hour informational session just like this, trying to get people more connected with what you can do with your body on a Pilates Reformer machine. So that's kind of neat coming up. Any questions for me, or Rex is still here, or Nina, before we make you move, because you've been sitting for too long? Yeah.
Where did you say the restorative free introduction on Pilates?
Oh yeah, it's on the back of this handout, so before you leave, we've got a bunch of handouts for you. And this one is, there's 2 different sessions, 4:30 or the 5:30. And it's in the aerobics room at Orchard Creek, and it is Wednesday, May 29th. Wednesday, May 29th. Space is limited on that one, so sign up, but it's free. But definitely sign up, but there's 2 sessions. Yeah.
Would you also mention, Cindy is leading a wonderful class that is new called Life After Loss, and as one who has lost several members of my family, working with her and the way she's putting that together has been a wonderful addition to our offerings.
Thank you, Lola. Yeah, great plug for our Cindy. Our wellness expands so broad that we are doing bereavement wellness, absolutely. So her class, Life After Loss, the next chapter, I know she's going to run it again in June, but it's a very small, intimate group that meets, and they have lost a significant other. Usually pretty recently, I think, but a lot of good feedback from that. So yeah, we are definitely expanding that wellness department as big as we can get it. So you have an idea for a class, I'm glad you mentioned that. You know how that class originated? I just have to tell you. During COVID, in the heart of it, when we were trying to open back up, I was talking to a resident that literally had just lost their husband. And Nina and I our heart went out to her. And we said, how can we help you? How can we, and she said, I'd love to have a small group class. And I said, done, we can make that happen. Nina started it with a small group class. I think there was 6 of you maybe, and it's grown a little bit. So we literally are trying to take stories direct from residents to create as we go what you guys need. The Mother's Day event at the spa. Anybody been to the Calaga Spa, the spa at Calaga Springs? They're doing a Mother's Day event coming up May 9th, and we are going to be sitting right out in front with a glass of champagne for you, for free, complimentary, or sparkling water if you don't do champagne. But we're allowed to have a glass or 2, and we're literally just want to sit with you and chat. So you just come sit with us, we'll give you a free drink and tell us what wellness classes you'd like to see, what's working for you, what's not working, any questions that you have. We have a lineup, we have a schedule. So look for it in the e-news, because we literally have a schedule of instructors. So if you're more interested in talking to Nina about sound baths and meditation, come at this time. If you're more interested in talking to Grace and her movement class or her sexual wellness class, come at this time. So the world is your oyster, so definitely look out for that. Any other questions, comments? It's good conversation to spark up. See, we're building our sense of community right here as we speak.
Is your Mother's Day events at the spa?
So it is the SPA's Mother's Day event. So we are trying to help promote signing up for one of their Mother's Day special services. But no, we will just be there out in front to talk to anybody coming and going for, yeah, and you don't have to necessarily be signed up, but we will be there. Yes?
I'm very interested in the zone stuff. I watched the documentary and the book and really interested in the diet. I have an idea for the community. It's like came to the meeting here. I don't know if it's through wellness or not. I would like to see, I don't know what it looks like. I would love to see a community garden in the
Go for it, Nina. That was Nina's dream about a year ago, too. We need an army. Because you know how that works around here. Space is limited and we have to share. So that is a great idea. It's just a matter of where we would be able to do it and getting it approved.
That is number
Or
one.
somebody's backyard.
Number one on my list, along with collecting fruits and vegetables that are grown in yards where people are not healthy enough to be able to collect up their stuff, to be able to collect up from maybe your neighbor who is no longer able to strip that tree of her fruit. I'd like to promote a group that we can organize where we go along, we collect that, we share it amongst each other. Okay, one of my favorite things is when I come up to the gym and people who have lemon or lime trees leave their lemons and limes. Now they may think it's ridiculous, but I get very excited because I don't have a lemon or lime tree. And I know that there's a ton of people who do garden in their backyard, and there's some who would like to garden and maybe not know how to set up their gardening in their backyard. So what we're going to do is, once we're done here, we'd like you to fill out it's a quick little paper giving us your email so that we can email you and let you know the updates of the groups that we're going to be putting together so that you can join those groups and become active in those groups, or possibly even lead one.
She's not here.
Okay, so there's a ton of people, especially when it comes to gardening, and they say that gardeners live the longest. And they say part of that is just digging in the dirt and earthing. So earthing is another way. Take off your shoes.
And grounding.
Ground.
Andy ran that class.
Into the ground. Listen to the breezes blowing through the trees. Listen to the birds that sing. I mean, how beautiful is it every morning as the sun comes up? I don't know if any of you can hear the birds around here, but the birds are incredible. They are like a natural alarm clock. So yeah, we're looking forward to all these ideas, and we're looking for even more ideas. So please fill out the form, collect up the 2 pieces of information, and we are going to, this is just the beginning of something big and blue.
And Andy, to answer your question, statement, whatever, we just need like little task forces, I feel like. So if that's something you're passionate about, I feel like when we start getting emails in, we'll start asking those questions and maybe have you head up that portion of it, if that's something you're interested in, or be part of that group that tries to kind of head up that segment.
So many blue zone qualities like community, exercise,
Yes.
diet.
And Cindy, I know we also were talking, I might be right in the beginning. Where did you go? Yeah, right here. Because you were, well, yeah, no, I know. We were also talking about that. So maybe that might be something that we get, special help from certain people that know what they're doing in that area to kind of, join forces in that department. Other questions?
Oh my God.
I would like to invite, yeah, you're good.
This has been great, Danielle.
There's so many opportunities for us to come together and figure this out together. So we just have to create that platform to do it, to grow from. I would love to invite you to actually get up and move and wander by that table, grab some of the handouts, grab the little card, and I'll stand there to collect them. Thank you guys.